Something is shifting and you might have felt it too. Alcohol sales are down. More and more people are deleting social media apps, and even the big P word that I probably can't say in this episode, but we'll see if I get demonetized or not, is getting talked about more and more. Is it healthy for us? Is it not? Is it okay to see? Is it not? But here's the twist. It's not just quitting apps and it's not just quitting booze. It's replacing. The nightclubs are being replaced with run clubs. Scrolling is being replaced with cold plunges or saunas. And movement clubs are selling tickets faster than your regular nightlife events. It's not just a phase. Welcome to the quiet rebellion. Welcome to the Brighten Your Day show. Okay, so I don't know about you, but it shocked me to look into the drinking stats. I used to be a drinker. I used to drink, here and there with friends, especially on the weekends. And over time, I just didn't care for it. I honestly turned into a grandma. Basically, by the time I turned 22, I was just done. I will admit that I do party pretty hard, and I partied too hard, if that makes sense. And I also love health and wellness, so it kind of just seemed completely hypocritical of me to talk about health and wellness and then put literal poison into my body, but I digress. So I don't know if you guys have seen headlines like this, but this headline reads, young adults in US drinking lesser than prior decades. So essentially, Gallup's long-term measure of alcohol consumption asks US adults whether they've had occasional use of alcoholic beverages, while the national average has been steady in the low 60% range for over 40 years. The age trend reviewed for this report showed that the rate has declined 10 percentage points over the past 2 decades among younger adults, ages 18 to 34, falling from 72% to 62%. Meanwhile, the percentage of drinkers has increased by 10 points among older adults, those 55 and older going from 49% to 59%. And I kind of read that and I'm like, well, this is bad to say, but they might be on their way out anyways, so they probably just want to live, let them live a little. I'm not really here to tell someone what to do with their body, but I did find that so interesting that my demographic, our demographic of people, aren't drinking as much, and it is kind of becoming a more cultural norm thing. I will say, I don't know about you guys, but when I stopped truly drinking a lot, I just remember so many people asking why, and it was a weird thing that I stopped drinking. Especially when you say you're not drinking, they kind of demand a reason as to why you're not drinking and you don't want to drink, and you kind of don't want to be rude and be like, okay, well, it's because it's poison. I don't know, but then also at the same time you're like, why do you care, and then you just kind of make up some story of I don't know, I have some sort of illness. I'm just kidding, but it is kind of interesting to see how other people react to what you want to do with your body. That's just a side note. And I think whether we're talking about physical health or emotional health, we are all just so fed up with feeling like absolute crap. And so it's life is already stressful enough and we already feel like crap with all the food and the poison. Why would we go ahead and poison ourselves even more? At least that's kind of my thought. It's I'm barely sleeping because of stress. Why would I make myself feel worse throughout the weekend? Take it back. I've never been a huge substance person in the first place. I struggle with anxiety, and so it's just never sat super well with me. I will say I've had some good times, but over time I think more and more people are realizing it's not worth it most of the time, which leads me into another cultural trend that I'm seeing. And I know if you guys aren't living under a rock, you have seen this before. So this article is titled, Run Clubs Are the New Nightclubs, Report Finds. So Strava's latest survey confirms more and more people are turning to fitness to socialize, according to Strava's annual year in sport trend report, which this year examined data from more than 135 million people across 190 countries. I did not know Strava was that big, by the way, but it says there was a 59% increase in running club participation in 2024. The report found that people were using fitness both to get a workout in and to socialize. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone, but it also says with 58% of participants saying they made new friends via fitness groups. And honestly, I like this trend. On this show, I talk so much about trends, and usually they're negative. And I see this as a direct positive. I see the outcomes of this as completely positive. Now, running isn't necessarily fully my cup of tea in terms of like, I have been worried about going to a run club because I'm freaking slow, but I love that there's more of an inclusivity when it comes to run clubs. And this is why I started even my movement club. My movement club is more of like a walk club than a run club because I don't know if I necessarily care to run, but we have a fun time walking and playing pickleball. Anyways, I love this. I just wanted to bring this to light that there is good in the world. There's movements that are good in the world. With all of this tech and all of this AI and disconnection, there are people realizing that we need more connection and starting the movement clubs, starting the run clubs, and really like leading the way in terms of the health and wellness and in-person connectivity. So I love it. And I do want to talk about like how physical exercise has so many health benefits beyond physical health. Obviously, like you're going to socialize when you go to the run club. Maybe you see a cute guy there and, you know, you go on a few dates or you don't. Anyways, it has good things other than that as well. Like I wanted to look up the mental and even like spiritual, emotional health that comes from running. And I also did a podcast episode with my mom and my sister on Effervescent, if you guys want to check this out, about walking/running and all the benefits of that. But it says in this article how running can help people with PTSD, which I thought was so interesting. So there's this thing called bilateral stimulation, which is a key component in therapies such as eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. So EMDR. And if you don't know what that is, it facilitates emotional processing and trauma recovery because your eyes like rapidly move back and forth. And as you're doing that, it helps you process things better. So this has already been being used. What's so cool though is like as you're walking or as you're running, it is causing you to have that bilateral stimulation already. So that's why people report like after I run or running helped me through trauma, or after I run I feel so good, or after I go on a walk, like the problems that I thought were such a big problem aren't a problem anymore. And obviously those are anecdotal, but this is studied. This is highly studied, and I love that it's studied. I mean, here's a question. Do you guys believe in like the runner's high? Because it's like when I look into the science, I believe it and it's so good for you. But at the same time, I have yet to feel runner's high. Maybe it comes years into the journey, which I am not. I kind of go for like 3 to 4 months, like a little stint of it, and then I stop. But anyways, there is a runner's high, or at least an emotional high when it comes to running. Helps you reprocess stuff, as well as obviously social connections. This article by Harvard says the importance of connections, ways to live longer and healthier life. Researchers agree that social connection can help people live longer and healthier lives. Being socially disconnected, for example, is associated with higher risk of illness, including heart disease, stroke, anxiety, depression, dementia. Loneliness and isolation has also been shown to increase risk of premature death by 26% and 29% respectively. Jeez Louise. I will say, obviously, there's a loneliness epidemic going on, and I gave that its own episode, so I can tag it up here somewhere. I talk about the Zuck and how he thinks AI is going to help with the loneliness, and whether that's a good thing or that's a bad thing, I don't know, but I get into that. So I did find that interesting, and obviously it totally makes sense. Like, where do people usually, back in the day, not really back in the day, but like, where do people usually find friends? Oh, it's at the nightclubs, it's on the weekends, and the bars, and all this stuff, and I think we're just like burnt out of the nightlife, so run clubs really are the new nightclubs. Tell me what you think about that. I think it's cool. Do you like running? What's your mile pace? Just kidding. Honestly, you don't have to say that because I won't say my mile pace right now. Jeez Louise. So this leads me into my next story, which is a growing movement like run clubs called abstinence, which I love because it's such a perfect play on words. And if you guys know me, you know I love a good play on words. I mean, my show is literally called The Brighten Your Day Show. And then when I tell people that my show is called The Brighten Your Day Show, they love it. And they think I'm so clever and smart. So anyways, this girly pop is very clever. Anyways, this article reads how master's student Gabrielle Noonian is helping others and beyond break away from their over-reliance on cell phone and social media. It says when she started reflecting on her own experience and challenges getting off social media, she began to form the philosophy and idea behind abstinence. She outlined her 5D method that provides steps to get off social media. Quitting cold turkey can be too hard, she says. The journey is to eliminate social media begins with the first decreasing access to apps, followed by deactivating, then deleting, and repeating those steps over until you downgrade downgrade to a transitional device like a flip phone and eventually departing, which I did talk about the rise of flip phones as well in another episode. Not sure if it's going to be posted before or after this. I've wanted a flip phone. Like, my husband thinks it's a joke, but I will like go online, and I have been trying to figure out how to like live in this modern world with a flip phone. I still haven't made the jump, clearly, because my husband thinks I'm insane, which I am. Which is why I need a flip phone, because social media is taking over my whole life. I'm just kidding. Honestly, it's been a lot better ever since I've started this show, because now I can like source all these things and it's like for good instead of me just doom scrolling. It's like I'm doom scrolling for a purpose now, to bring you guys the news. Just kidding. This is not the news. Don't follow me for news. Anyways, it says in this article that after graduating, she plans to continue working on abstinence and help more and more people get off social media and live in the real world. She says it's not a utopian fantasy of like, oh, if only I could run into the woods and leave all my technology behind and get off social media, reinvent myself. She claims and says it's something that people are actually doing. Teach me how, girl. And I know this is so ironic because clearly I have this like whole setup here and I'm posting this online. But where else are people gonna like, receive the news? Because I am your favorite news host. Just kidding, I already said I wasn't. Anyways, so this isn't just about social media and how people are quietly stepping away from it. We're going to turn a little bit into something more serious, but I think needs to be talked about and it deserves to have its own deep dive. But the deeper I looked into this, it's not just about a phone problem. It's a culture problem. We're not just addicted to scrolling online. We are addicted to finding any way that we can to numb ourselves. I don't think that's any shock to anybody. Which brings me into my next story. Now, I want to preface with this story and say, I do not care about this girl, nor do I want to give her a lot of screen time on my, gigantic platform that I have here. But I want to say that this matters in terms of the underbelly of it. I want to talk about the culture and the ethics of it, not necessarily about her itself. But I was eating some mac and cheese or some pasta. I was like scrolling online, and then I saw this headline and I was like, oh gosh, do I want to look? And I looked, and I don't suggest you look, but we're going to get into it a little bit. So it says, which this headline's kind of funny. It says, Only bans. Bonnie Blue banned from OnlyFans and set to lose $600K a month for extreme challenge content. I do not say that you should look this up. I do not think that you should look this up. I am not saying to go look this up and exactly what she did. But essentially, she did a crazy stunt in public, invited other people to join her in this crazy stunt. I believe it was in London. And she subsequently got arrested. Now, here's the thing. Some people are saying the arrest is a hoax. I don't even know. I don't even care if it is. I kind of hope it's not, because she should get arrested for this. It's crazy. Anyways, I am not here to judge or shame her or anyone on this topic, but I do want to talk about the porn industry. Now, we are going to use that instead of the P word, because I'm afraid of YouTube and what it'll do to me if I talk about all of the things I want to talk about, but I think you guys know where I'm getting at. So here's the thing. This made me pause and reflect on our culture and where we are at in this timeline, where so much of our intimacy and our bodies and our faces have become commoditized, monetized, optimized, and we are losing our souls, our connection to ourselves and to others. And when it comes to like intimacy with a partner, I think that the porn industry has done an excellent job at destroying that beautiful intimacy that you have with people, especially like your loving spouse. I think that that is a beautiful thing. And I will say, this is kind of interesting to talk about, but I will say, when I was younger, I never viewed this as like a normal good thing. And if you view differently than me and you think it's like okay, totally fine. That's okay. I just want to kind of set the stage here. I never viewed the porn industry as like a normal thing, a normal behavior. something to be integrated in culture. I literally saw it ever since I was like 14 that this was wrong. And if we start normalizing this behavior, it's only going to move the goalpost forward to what else we're going to normalize in the future. And that scared me, even at a young age, even in junior high, when I overheard boys talking about it. And then when I would tell them, like, hey, this isn't normal, they would say, yes, it is. And, like, whatever. We wouldn't really get in, like, fights because I was just like, okay, I guess. But I think when it comes to Bonnie Blue and all of the stunts she's pulling and all of the people that are talking about her and giving her publicity and paying for her OnlyFans subscription and joining her in her extreme stunts, I think when it comes to her, there comes a point where it's too normalized. And what I see from the public and the court of public opinion, I think it's gone too far, and I think people are finally realizing this and that it's not an act of feminism anymore. It's something much more nefarious. It's darker than that. It doesn't just seem like a girl trying to like make a living anymore. It seems like something is just taking a hold of that industry that's so dark. And when I sit here and I think about our brains, our little brains here, I don't believe that we were ever meant to see this many beautiful people and this amount of flesh online and bodies online. I think that we are meant to connect deeply with people and not scroll endlessly with people with no clothes on. And yeah, that's my opinion. I would love to know your guys' opinion. I think this entire debate/conversation, I think that this deserves an entire deep dive in and of itself, the origins of the industry and how it's really just warped our culture, especially warped pop culture. Like now you see girls just waltzing in completely naked on red carpets, and people have to like say memos and be like, hey, just so you know, this year we're not going to do that. I don't know if you guys saw that video or not, or that memo or not. I think it was from, was it the Met Gala? It was from one of those, maybe the Grammys, where they're just like, hey, just so you know, you can't be naked. Can't be naked anymore. Maybe put a little cloth and then we'll let you go and you're fine. But yeah, it's interesting. And I think it deserves more of our attention. I think that there are ramifications, especially for usage. And I do want to say one more thing when it comes to this, because this was the most interesting and eye-opening thing that I did not know. So this article is titled, Is Porn Addiction Real? So it actually says, to date, the American Psychological Association has not recognized porn addiction as real psychological condition. Additionally, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Health Disorders, the world's leading guide on psychological disorders, asserts that pornography as well as addictions are not psychological disorders. So I'm sitting here like, it's not recognized. I wonder how many ramifications that actually has on society, that hasn't been recognized as a real problem, that our addictions to that haven't been recognized. Because I look around here and I'm like, clearly there's a problem. There is a problem with this. And then later on it does say, in the same article it says, but that does not mean corn isn't addictive and people can't. I keep switching between the corn and then porn, who knows? I might get demonetized. I really hope not. But anyways, it says that does not mean that porn isn't addictive and people can't become addicted to it. Because the APA or DSM has not recognized it as something, that does not mean that it isn't real, as a scientific community continues to learn more about obscure or taboo addictions. The APA and the DSM-5 will adjust their guidelines accordingly. But I'm like, girly pop, I think they're a little late to the party, Like, I'm no scientist. I am not an expert here. But I think people are struggling a little more with these addictions than you would like to think. I don't know. It's really interesting. And then I was looking at the stats, because this did blow my mind a little bit. So it said a 2020 study published in the Journal of Research surveyed over 1,300 U.S. adults and found that 91.5% of men and 60.2% of women had consumed some form of pornography in just the past month. Videos were the most common form overall, but interestingly, some women were likely to consume written porn. Okay. I've never read any of those. What is it called? I think it's called smut. Never read any of those. I probably never will. I do find that interesting that women tend to gravitate towards written and men are more visual. It's just an interesting thought. Anyways, this is all to say that some people on the other side think it's just human biology, that men are just visual creatures and this is normal. And yeah, and then other people, obviously like me, are saying it's keeping us numb, it's keeping us disconnected, it's keeping us not as human. And that's my opinion. And if you have a different opinion, totally fine. I would love to hear your thoughts on all of this. I definitely will give this the time and the day later on. But yeah, I'll leave you with this. The fact that we're even talking about this, even though it's dark, means that something is shifting. Something is shifting inside of us all. And I think we are becoming way more aware. And if there's anything that we can do to fight back against all of these like things that we don't want in this life, we don't want in our lifetimes, we don't want in this culture, it's first you have to become aware of the problem and then you have to use your voice and talk about it. So now I've become aware and we're becoming aware and it's becoming talked about more. Now you got to use your voice, you got to talk about it. That's what I'm doing. Obviously, you don't have to have a freaking podcast where you sit and chat, but I encourage you to talk about it more. It's a little scary to use your voice, and I've definitely been worried. I'm still worried to use my voice, but I think it's important. And yeah. Now, listen here. I don't believe you need to quit Instagram and social media altogether and delete your phone and throw it into the ocean. I don't believe you need to sign up to run clubs and run an 8-minute mile and find the love of your life at a run club instead of a nightclub. I don't believe you need to fully quit alcohol, even though I would kind of recommend it. I don't believe you need to do that to be healthy. I believe you just need to have the awareness, and we need to overall understand what's happening, and so we can talk about it and we can shift it. I believe we need to think about how we want our lives and culture to look in 20 years to come, in 10 years to come. Obviously, it's hard to predict everything, especially when it comes to AI and AGI and all of the artificial intelligence and super intelligence that's coming out. But if we can start having an open conversation, especially us, like my age, my demographic, and even people younger than me, can start having this conversation, that we can shape the world and we can shape our lives to what we want it to look like. But it takes guts. We got to start talking, okay? So yeah, I would encourage you to go outside, see the sun. You can even walk during my videos if you want to do that as like a walk time and listen to Brighton rant. Drink some water, text a friend or a loved one, take pictures with your animals or family. I don't know. Journal about how you want your life to be. Create a project or something you're proud of. And maybe join a movement club or a book club or an anime club, or I'm trying to think of more clubs. Dungeons and Dragons club. Doesn't even have to be physical movement, but go outside, meet people in the real world. I will always advocate for that. That'll always be my mission and the movement that I'm trying to let you know about. Until next time. Bye.